Oh yeah, Friday. That's when we finally get to practice for real and make some real gains. And that's also a good time to fix one's haircut. I need to do that, I think. This must be a bad hair day. Anyhow, let's play. I want to get better. I don't know about you, but I definitely want to get better. I need to get better. And here's some hard proof. Dan Billy on Instagram, how you doing, mate? So I'm playing in E minor now, and I'm trying to go between arpeggio and alternate picking. But as usual, I'm practicing this way too fast. So in order to effectively, make some progress, I'm gonna have to slow down. So let's do that. Doing good, Dan. Looking forward for some weekend time. How about you, man? And where are you located? Yeah, we got Jacqueline here. What's up? Let's try it again. So that turned out tricky. I'm trying to go again between arpeggio and picking. It's a common thing among, I guess anybody who's learning an instrument, that you're, trying to get good at one thing. But at a certain point, you have to realize you need to get better also at mixing in that one thing with the other things, Senya, what's up? Long time no see. How you doing? Teach again. I do. Thank you, man. Okay. That's a little bit better. Hey there, Matthew, what's up? Senya, you mean my exercise? Yeah, it's probably a little bit too difficult for me, but I can't help myself. I need to do it. Voodoo Child, I use chicken pick, 2.1 millimeters. It's called Bermuda. Bailey, it's just not true. It's still no meaning, just a lot of noise, no feeling at all. So Bailey, the primary goal right now at least is not to convey feeling, but to practice the transition between picking and arpeggio. So that's what I'm working on. Daniel, boa tarde, what's up? Yeah, the kickball drum sound, I'm using some EDM patterns here just for variation. They're a little bit interesting, but this one is fun. Let's try it. A little bit swingy. This is fun. Let's try some more. Mainen, how you doing, man? Voodoo Child. Volume bad. I'm Swedish. Senya, I'm not sure I know what you understand what you mean. How many times doing what arpeggio play is clean and fast? Do you mean like how long it takes you to master this kind of thing? Okay, we have a good question by Ethan there on Instagram. Would you prefer metronome drills or learning to play along the song for developing timing and rhythm? I'm stuck between boring drills and songs. Anytime over a song, that's the best thing. In fact, I would do it here if it weren't for all the copyright issues. But what I'm doing here also has its place, but it's a different thing. If I only could choose one, I would choose playing over songs anytime. It's so much better because groove is complex and there are lots of micro variations happening all the time when you're playing with a real human being, especially a skilled musician. And you don't get that when you practice to metronome. So you could say that you get so much for free when you're playing with real musicians' music, like recorded songs on Spotify or whatever. 1 hour, 2 hour a day. Okay, Senya, I get your question. So to play clean like this, well, I often get the question, how long to play fast? And I say, well, it took me 10 years to play fast, but it didn't sound very good, and I certainly didn't sound very clean. So it depends a little bit on what you're prioritizing. I think if I had done it right from the beginning, with all the knowledge I have now, I might have done it in 10 years. But usually guitarists, we don't tend to believe what we are told until we experience it ourselves. I mean, I knew I shouldn't have tried to push speed too much because that would result in sloppy playing. But I didn't care because I wanted to learn to play fast so eagerly. So yeah, it took me 10 years to play fast and maybe another 10 years to play cleanly. So 20 years, I would say. But again, if you do right from the beginning, you can probably save quite a bit of time. And how many hours per day? When I started practicing seriously, it was probably between like 3 and 8 hours per day. So yeah, it takes time. But the good news is, or the good thing is that it's fun. Otherwise, you would never spend the time. Mark Trajan loves my guitar. Thanks, man. question there by Ermias. Can you play guitar on stage without a pedal? For sure you can, but you usually need an amp to be heard. But if you just have an amp, you can definitely play on stage. A tuner might be useful, but you can get away without one if you're skilled at tuning or if you have some other means of tuning. But sure, you don't need a pedal. And depending on your amp, it can sound even better without pedals. I mean, there are, some classic amps, such as, some American Fender amps, are known for, really not needing any pedals, like a Deluxe Reverb or something like that, Princeton Reverb. They have the best reverb in the world. They have the best tremolo, and they sound great on their own. And if you crank it up, you get gain as well. But it totally depends on what you're wanting to get, what type of sound. But sure you can. Mr. Chester Dog, thank you so much, man. Let's practice some more. This is hard, tapping with a swingy groove. Gentar, how you doing, man? Nothing. Feel free to ask. Cool, lots of great questions coming in now. What the first riff I learned, I don't remember. On the acoustic guitar, on the classical guitar, when I was just starting out, I did that kind of thing. I think some old Russian tune or whatever. Okay, some questions from Instagram here. How can someone build speed and dexterity? So to build speed, what you need is to be able to have very machine-like and small movements, preferably super relaxed. That's the key. So what a lot of people get wrong is they push speed and they tense up. So that tends to slow progress down quite a bit. Feels like you're pushing it, but in reality it's just slowing you down. And you can see that, if you check out the top shredders, they're almost always relaxed when they're playing. And another thing is, when you're starting out, you don't really understand the importance of all the details, and that's normal. But what you can do to get it down anyway without understanding is to these days we have so many good videos on YouTube from players who are awesome. So find yourself a good 4K video or whatever and zoom in and try to imitate their exact posture, especially the right hand. And especially if you're trying to play the same material as them, or if your goal is to be able to play that. So just the way you hold everything, the angle, try to have that part of your routine to have it be identical. And that's basically going to give you a more relaxed posture if you do that for the left hand as well. But the topic is huge, so in order to give you a really good answer, we typically need to know where you want to take your playing, what level you're at, and more specifically, what kind of fast things you're working on. My best way to picking, Manan is asking. So, today I actually practiced a little bit of economy picking before going live, but I don't know if it's the best way of picking, but it's fun, it's not strict open picking. I'm not that good at it, so I lose timing a little bit, but but I can't tell you, you know, I use all these different picking techniques depending on the run. Sometimes I use like a more downward pick slanting for the, you know, and sometimes it's two-way pick slanting when I'm trying to pick every note in a like a three note per string run. And sometimes it's mixing legato and picking. So that's actually my preferred way of doing it. But I still mess up. One more time. Something like that. Cool. Mr. Tajan likes my runs. Man and Pong as well. Thank you on Instagram. Sorry for butchering usernames. James Cameron is there. Awesome. The right hand is who you really are. Maybe. On the guitar though, I would say for these fast runs, for me the left hand is actually more important because I can never rely on the picking working, you know. Sometimes I have a good picking day, sometimes not. And when I don't have a good picking day, it's always the left hand that saves my ass. Eat your food, Senya. Do it, man. Ooh, Jacqueline. So I subscribe to your channel and there are extra tips that are helping me. Plus the plantronic, the diagrams help as well. Thank you, Jacqueline, and thank you for all the feedback. They have not gone unnoticed. And I believe you probably heard some of my voice replies, which you can actually send on YouTube now. So that's pretty cool. So thanks a lot for the support, man. Alvin on Facebook, how are you doing, man? Adrian, so many good questions and people here. Is tuner mandatory to play on stage? What is tuner? A tuner. Yeah, being in tune I think is mandatory if you're gonna play on stage. No one really wants to hear a guitar that's out of tune. Nothing is asking, I am thinking about buying an Ibanez GRX. It will be my first electric guitar. I don't know the Ibanez GRX 20, but I am a big fan of Ibanez. I have two Ibanez guitars and I love the brand. And part of the reason why I love them is because they have such a wide catalog of good stuff. You know, there are few brands where you can buy like a great jazz, you know, like a hollow body jazz guitar, and you can buy a modern fusion guitar, whatever. I think that's cool. But also the fact that prices are pretty good, you know, for what you get. And they've always been in that range where they deliver quality, but they're not the most expensive. I don't know. Sounds like I'm sponsored by them, but I'm not. I certainly would like to be, because there are so many cool guitars in their catalog. Okay, let's do some more. I've never tried a Dean guitar. Yeah, this was a tricky beat. Let's find something else. Thank you, Meng. I try. I don't have any guitars I want to give out, Mr. Trahan. Sorry, man. Yes, Jacqueline. Did you like the arpeggio video I posted for members only on my YouTube today? That was something I had, been planning for a while, because if you've ever been into these streams, you know that I keep returning to arpeggios all the time. It's the spice I throw in all the time. So I thought you deserved to check them out. Eric Johnson and the Timmons, that's awesome, man. I have no idea about sweep picking. Can you explain? Sweeping, let's sweep a little bit. I messed up. Let's do something straight. Artby on Instagram, what's up? And we got my man Ethan Keller. What you're hearing now, Ethan Keller, is finally me finding some cool tones with my new Origin amp. You were in the stream, I remember, when I was exploring it still, but now with a couple of pedals, I'm getting some fantastically juicy sounds. And weirdly enough, I can't get the same sounds from my Boogie amp. So it's funny how that works, but I guess it's not unexpected. But you'd think that from a high-end amp, you'd be able to get the similar sounds, since the distortion is coming from pedals now. But that's how it is. Titanic, I don't know what that is, and I can't play it. Yes, so I'm gonna try to explain sweep picking. My guitar action, it looks a little higher than it actually is because of the scallop. So I don't know if you can tell. Maybe it doesn't look that high. This camera is not that good on zooming in. Let's see if you can see. Here maybe. The Mask Dripper, thank you. Airline, thank you. So we had the question about sweep picking. So yes, consecutive down and up strokes, that's what it is. So you don't want to be doing like, if you're practicing sweeping, some people kind of practice it, they know that they have to make several downstrokes. So these are just downstrokes, but you can still see the up and down movement kind of bouncing back and forth. And that's usually where people fail. You have to, even practicing slowly, you have to do it like this. You can see the difference between, I mean, both are downstrokes, but one is downstroke bouncing all over the place. And the other one, I'm picking and then I'm resting on the next string. And then the opposite on the way down. You have to get that down in order to get up to speed, so that it becomes one movement, you know? So it's a matter of, you know, that's the end goal. But to practice that, you gotta do it in segments. You can't sort of do another picking style while practicing slowly and then expect that to become that smooth sweeping motion. We had explained the switching of pickup positions while playing. So the pickups, what they do is they kind of catch the sound on different parts of the string. So if you play your guitar unamplified, you're going to notice that if you pick here, it sounds warmer than if you pick here. So that's what the pickups are catching, you know, the sound on different places. So sometimes you want that warmer sound. A lot of times, you know, when playing on the treble strings, like high up, you want to balance that with a warmer tone of the neck pickup. And other times when you play like riffing, then you need to balance that with the bridge pickup. So that's the primary reason. But sometimes you go between those two, right? So I might do and then I might do, and I don't know if you could tell, but when right before that run, I did that pickup switch, and that was because I prefer having the bridge pickup for riffing and the neck pickup for high gain lead. YouTube link. So if you search for Christopher Dahl, that's a question on Instagram. If you search for Christopher Dahl, you should get my channel on top. Otherwise, you always have my links in my bio. Thanks for asking, by the way. Oh, Sandra, how to ignore disturbance from the sounds that comes from outside. Okay, I'm fortunate enough to live in a very silent place, but I realize that most people live in big cities where there is no silence. So I don't know if I'm the best guy to ask, but there are now great means of practicing with headphones. Heck, I got a $200 guitar from Enya Music, which is called X-Mary, and it has a built-in audio engine. You can just plug headphones into the guitar and it, you know, it feels good, it sounds good. So there are fairly cheap means of doing that. Also, these days, there are more and more noise canceling headphones. So you could look into those as well. Any suggestions for picking hand? Good results. There's a funny little fact, but I tend to, you know, this might not apply to you, but if you've been playing for a longer time, then, well, at least for me, some of the best picking warm-up is actually for me to play like metal rhythm for 20 minutes or so. You know, this kind of thing. Whatever, but I don't know why, but just I think it goes down to the fact that when I think picking, it's like, okay, now try to play fast. But even though I've been telling this to my students for probably 10 to 15 years, I still fall into the trap of warming up, playing too fast. I do that all the time. So I find that with rhythm guitar, that seems not happen as much because, you know, unless the rhythms you play are really that kind of thing, usually it's a bit slower, you know. So you get the alternate picking, you get the down picking emphasis, and even the upstroke, like if you do. It's down, up, and something. Yeah, I don't really listen to bluegrass music, but I try to play some country licks occasionally. And yeah, from time to time I actually work on country licks, but I don't really listen to it. I have some like Instagram people I follow who are really good at country guitar, and I can't avoid but occasionally stealing a country lick or two from them because it's so cool to mix in. Right and left hand synchronization is very difficult. Actually, Sanjay, that's a great thing to mention now that we're speaking about picking, because a lot of times when people are struggling with picking, it's actually not the picking on itself that's the problem. It's the fact that their left hand can't keep up. Well, usually the picking is difficult as well, but I mean, there's no point in thinking about different picking strategies for fast picking if your left hand isn't up to the task. So what I recommend is for people to actually, if you want to learn to play fast, don't start with picking, start with legato. That's my #1 tip. Because if you have a decent legato technique, then you can always add more picking and you can add sweeping and all that good stuff. But the opposite is not true. You can't just be the best pick in the world, but never have it worked on your left hand, because it won't be able to keep up. It'll sound like crap, unless you're only playing, power chords. Then I guess it's okay. But if you're looking for lead tips, then left hand is key. In fact, I'm not even using the picking here. And it sounds like picking, right? So that just comes from the left hand. Haha, psycho. Maybe I can reignite your shredding. Well, I hope so. If you check out my channel, there are tons of shorts that is trying to just inspire you to, learn a lick or two. So it's awesome. We get lots of feedback and comments here, but unfortunately, I feel that I have missed some questions. Let's see what you guys are saying. Is it mandatory to use both finger picking and pick the same time to play it stage live? No, absolutely not. So there are no rules for like you gotta do something specific when you're playing live. The only thing you really have to focus on is, one, have a good time. Not only will you feel happy if you have a good time, but the audience is going to notice that you're enjoying yourself up there. If you're up there and thinking, am I doing things right? Should I be using a pedal? That's going to be reflected. And you have to consider that some of, early performers who were amazing, they only had like a crappy acoustic guitar, and people still love them because they enjoyed and they loved their craft. So don't worry about what you need. Worry about what you want to do and how you want your music to sound. There are no rules at all. There are only guidelines, and the guidelines tell you go up there and have fun. That's what matters. Which one do you think is harder to master, pick or fretting? So I think fretting is much harder, but the hardest of all is, of course, if you're trying to play super fast with the left hand and you're trying to pick every note. That's hard because not only does each hand need to be really skilled, but they also have to be synchronized. So it's like 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. Whereas if you're trying to get a good left hand, it's mostly this hand and a little bit of muting, It's also hard, but I think, picking every note is on a different level. And that's why there are very few players, in fact, there are zero players who pick every note super fast and improvise. It's just impossible. The ones that do usually have a big chunk of legato in their runs. You might not tell, it's a little bit hard to tell. Sometimes people think that I pick every note, but I very rarely do that. Lots of legato. So yeah, that's a good one. Steve I said you have to learn the rules so you can break them. Exactly. And that's a very good general rule. And I think that really relates to, building an original style, because especially in the 80s and the 90s that followed, that's probably when that quote is from, there was a lot of questioning of, whether am I just going to be a rocker or do I have to study music theory? And there's a point to be made that if you just completely skip the music theory and then you think you're onto something, but then you realize, hey, it's been done a million times, just that I did it in a different key or something. And you might go around thinking you're super original when you're not, So knowing the basics in theory and then be able to stray from them, that's a powerful tool for originality. So in that case, I would argue that it's actually the theory that helps. Without the theory, you wouldn't be able to break away from the theory. Miguel Angel on Instagram, what's up? The live scene is so helpful. Thank you, Ermias. Synchronizing your right and left hand speed picking is a little bit of an illusion sometimes. Synchronizing. I'm not sure what you mean, psychoanalytican. Are you Swedish, by the way? I'm not sure what you mean synchronizing. You mean that it's very hard to do? It is hard to do at a high tempo, for sure. And even Paul Gilbert, in many of his runs, he has a lot of legato. Very Swedish. So, in that kind of thing, I would say it's 80% picking, If I try to pick every note, it's like, let's try it. That was picked every note, not completely tight, but... and there's some legato. Ahoo! I did it there, I think. So that's all picking. But again, I must say, I don't necessarily prefer the sound. It's a good tool to have, but a lot of times, I think mixing the picking with legato just smoothens things out. And it's not only preferable from like a technical perspective, it actually sounds cooler to my ears as well. But sometimes you want that super aggressive, and like that. Like maybe you want it for some reason, you want every note to be picked. It can be something, specific sound you're looking for. I mean, sometimes it's just tremolo picking of the legato. No. Psychoanalytican, that's not correct. Tremolo picking over legato sounds horrible. That's just a mess. That's why Paul Gilbert's style was so, innovative back in the days, of course. Now it's done all the time. It's because every note was synchronized, and he did it very reliably, I think he even started one of his videos with explaining the difference between the unsynchronized picking and the synchronized. So, and that's why his style of playing takes you a good 20 years to learn, whereas the other style of playing, you can start doing that within months, right? So tremolo picking really only works on one string, because as soon as the string traverse, you're going to get that interruption, and that's when people, ask about getting stuck between the strings. That's a result of uncontrolled fast picking. Whereas Paul Gilbert and anyone who wants to be able to play fast with control, he pretty much had a plan for every string traverse, and it's not like he makes it up on the fly. These are licks that he's practiced a lot, and part of the challenge in playing them fast is to deal with that string traverse. Sherry Bauer, sorry, too much talking. This is the Sherry Bauer lick. It's for Sherry Bauer. Oh, Racer X YRO. Is that for Yngwie ripoff? Is it? Is it true? I didn't know about that. Yes, Delusion Fast. What about the pentatonic scale? I love the pentatonic scale. Haha, we can have a Zoom call. I'd love to, man. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, you can always check out my website, christopherdahl.com. Right now, I don't have any open slots for Zoom, though, but occasionally I do, and I put it up there. I wish you would... Oh, yeah. So... pentatonics. I love shredding pentatonics as well, So 2 notes per string. It has that Eric Johnson vibe. I think it sounds awesome. Very cool. I'm funny. Thank you. I really like the technique where you play the same note, same fret with the 4 fingers, one after the other. Yeah. Oh, so you incorporated that into your playing. That's awesome, man. Very cool. So yeah, it's the glitch picking thing, right? What time is it over there? Question on Instagram there. It's 5:20 in the afternoon. This is cool. We got a acoustic king here. That's awesome, man. Okay, so you can see I'm using the same finger here for 1 fret, right? I haven't practiced this for a while. And it sounds fun when you're... But I gotta practice some more. So. Could it be possible to play arpeggio-like melodic idea connecting with other chords, like playing scale? Yeah, for sure. That's kind of the idea with arpeggios there. You get a built-in chord into whatever you're playing. So you're kind of implying chordal harmony. So you have a number of choices there. You could either just play the harmony of whatever chord you're playing over, which is cool because that's good target notes, but it can sound a little bit boring if you only do that. So what you can do then, if you want to experiment with arpeggios, is to play arpeggios that are outside of the key or that are just a little bit wrong. And then it's going to sound very cool when you get back into the key, pretty much. So, for example, if I'm into like E minor, I can play the E minor arpeggio, but it sounds a little bit colorless. Or, and nothing wrong with it. But there are more interesting ways. more interesting ways. So for example, I could play in E minor, C major, that is going to imply the minor 6, and it sounds kind of cool. But I can go much crazier and play outside of the key, and that's when it gets really interesting. So let's try this. You know, that's a more powerful coloring. It's also easier to mess up, so it's something I'm working on. But the E minor version sounds kind of just too perfect, whereas the outside version sounds really like a punch in your face. And provided you get back to the key center, it's going to sound really cool. If you get back to it on time, you know, and if you do it tastefully. Psykoanalytiken, I do have the Parker guitar. Yes! Don't play it as often, but I can't bring myself to sell it. So much affection. Haha, I think Shred hit his peak in 88. It doesn't have much commercial value anymore. It's just us guitarists who think it's fun to play fast. No one else likes it anymore. Exactly, Ligan. You know, that glitch picking allows you to easily reposition while playing, so it's pretty cool. Some people go crazy about its usefulness and, you know, whether it's a real technique or not, but I think that's overanalyzing it. Just play it and have fun. Lots of Instagram questions there that I missed. What do you think of the Gibson 60s? I'm planning to buy one. Oof, I love one. I think the 60s are the golden age, right? 50s and 60s are really good. 70s had a little, no. Yeah, 70s and 80s were a bit of a, like a quality decline, but 60s is supposed to be amazing, I think. MDFKN, that's awesome. Thank you, man. So, what is PNG? Sorry, should know. I'm guessing it's a country. Maybe a city. Papua New Guinea, got it. Before you said anything. See, I'm not that clueless. No, you followed me since the Parker days. That's awesome, man. So maybe you found me like on Ultimate Guitar somewhere. You must be almost my age. Gammal som gatan, as we say in Swedish. This is actually a graphite nut. It's true, well spotted. If you land on the right note, all notes are correct. Exactly. You only have 12 notes. So chances are 5 notes of those are going to sound awesome. And then you have another like 3 or 4 notes that sound okay at best. And then you have the rest. So where are we at? Like 3 or 4 notes that are really bad. And, and the way you combine them is gonna define the flavor of bad. And that's jazz, basically, you know? There are lots of interesting and creative ways you can play bad notes, wrong notes. And all of them sound cool, as you said. Or, you know, many of them can sound amazing when you get back to, you know, the root and the tonic, and when you resolve properly, you know? That's what it's about. You can be super aggressive in your experimenting as soon as you land where you're supposed to land. So that's definitely something I'm working on. So let's try some more. I messed up. Marcuse is asking, how do you play so clean, bro? Love your style. Thank you, Marcuse. So playing clean, that was me cleaning up my technique after having prioritized speed for a decade, and then realizing, I had wandered up the mountain and forgot my bag, or I would say backpack, at the bottom of the mountain. So I had to climb down and walk up again. So add another 10 years to the mix. If you're smart, you can, do it right away. I'm gonna shamelessly plug my courses. That's what I teach. Not having to walk down that mountain because it sucks. Much better to bring your backpack from the beginning. So I guess that's when it's got clean. Willie Nelson, pretty cool. It's the old acoustic dude, right? 35 years this year. Started following you at 18. Okay, I have an advantage of 9 years. That's an advantage, I don't know, but guitar advantage, maybe, provided I keep on practicing. But you can catch up. It's dangerous stuff. Instagram, Sean is asking how you connect the damn scales to each other. How to mix solo ideas, dude. So whenever you see me mix scales, it is rarely done on the fly. Most of the time, whatever transition you're seeing is something I've been practicing variations of 1,000 times. So it's not like a magic trick, but rather focused practicing. So MDFKN, this is not, it's just me improvising. So I don't have a tab of it, sorry man. So when I mix like ideas, it's something I've been working on quite a bit. So for example, if I'm playing in E minor, what I tend to do is throw in like a diminished arpeggio and thereby implying E harmonic minor. So like E flat diminished minor 7 arpeggio. It sounds like this. So you could hear maybe there was a shift in tonality there. What I've done is, even though now I can kind of practice or jam going back and forth, really just to at a much slower tempo, just go back and forth, E minor, go back to E diminished or E flat diminished, back to E minor, into E flat diminished, and so I messed up, but you get the idea. So there's no like magic trick. You have to, find whatever you want to work on and work on that, and gradually you're going to start to be able to do that in your improvised lines. Maybe not even a guitar player. I could have a guitar lesson from any guitar player, dead or alive. Who would it be? Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, I think if I could have a guitar lesson or just a lesson from a musician, it would probably be a very good songwriter. Maybe best would be both. So like, Kurt Cobain or James Hetfield or any of my heroes, old-time heroes, maybe Slash or something. Because I find it very cool when you know, people can write good songs. Yeah, my old track. That's my A Loner song. You guys want to check it out? It's on my YouTube. So. I can't even remember it. There was a stick up. I love it. Very cool. I have planted a seed in your brain. Love it. Blues. Yeah, I love the blues. Let's do some blues. But it inevitably leads to shred after a while. I guess that's my, it's a disease. It's a freaking disease. Ingve is cool. Yeah, he does a lot of nice, or he used to do some blues stuff. Actually, got that, that's from him. Metal is just fast blues. Yes, so true. And, you know, the way I approach blues, actually it's more like swingy. I love the guitarist Blues Saraceno. I think he has a really unique kind of swingy groove. And whenever I do this, it's like a, how do you say, tribute to him. It's funny, we have almost not had any like a request for cover songs, as I don't know any cover songs, so I can't play them. But the moment I started playing blues, then people are like, yeah, play that song, play this song. But when I'm shredding, people are not asking about that. Is that, do you guys have any thoughts about that? Is that just a coincidence? It seems like the faster I play, the less questions I get about cover songs. So you guys are making me do it, man. When did Fugitive play guitar? What's that? Fugitive. So yeah, to those of you who are asking about Slipknot and Chili Peppers and Johnny B. Good, sorry mate, I don't know any cover songs. It's been decades since I played them. I wish I could play them because everybody's asking about them, but I used to, try to play some cover songs just to please you guys, and it just totally made me not want to do the stream. So I figured instead of doing that one time and then never streaming or not streaming again in 2 weeks, I might just say no and then I'll stream the next day. It makes more sense. So yeah, play stuff you like, and I don't like playing cover songs. That's what it goes down to. Yeah, blues brings to mind songs. Has to be, yeah? If I do that, maybe we get no more cover song requests. Let's see. No cover songs here! And now I'll get one, because that's bluesy. You do any chicken picking? Well, I do a lot of hybrid picking, hybrid legato. So if you look at my right hand, you can see that. I don't know if you can tell, my fingers are moving. So it's not really chicken picking. Chicken picking is like a very specific hybrid picking technique with a clean tone and a lot of like whatever. I'm not good at that, but I do use a lot of like where I combine the pick and fingers. So what I said about cover songs, unfortunately it's the same for solos. I haven't played anybody else's solos for decades. Sorry man, so I can't play Beat It or Wonderwall. But a lot of times when I do these runs, I use quite a bit of fingers. So it's not chicken picking, but yes. So it's a lot of pick and legato. And it's a favorite technique of mine. It's one of those reliable techniques that always works. Like I said earlier in the stream, the same is not true for alternate picking, like fast picking. I can't do that. I can never be sure whether I'm going to be able to, whether it's a good picking day, basically. Am I going to be able to do that run which I could do yesterday? Like that. Well, maybe today is a bad picking day, so I'll just do like hybrid legato things that much better. Plus, it's easier to improvise with. I can more easily go in and out of different techniques. For example, like tapping loop, you upload. We can try. I uploaded, guys. We can try tapping, combining. It works pretty well, I think. That kind of thing is much harder if you're trying to pick every note. It's really. Then you're going to get a little bit of a gap between when you're moving your hand, so... And of course, when you get that gap, legato is once again going to be your savior. So, yeah, like I said earlier, to me, the fast picking is just... I wouldn't say a party trick, but it's more like a tonal thing when you want that specific tone. but it requires an insane amount of work and maintenance to have that. And it's not nearly as flexible as other techniques that you can really use for improvising, stuff like that. Heman K Official, I don't remember you. Please remind me. Fueled by bass. You are a bassist. I could almost have guessed. Welcome to the stream. Your legato take is amazing. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. I forgot B flat dominate is the key of... Wait, I heard voices. I gotta check this out. Yep, you gotta make sure there are no freaking thieves sneaking around here. Read one, thank you. Oh, you're the one who noticed that my single coils are fake. I remember that. So, to anybody wondering, these are fake ping single coils. They are actually stacked. So they are disguised humbuckers, and that's how they're noiseless. Camocha, scalloped fret. Yes, this is a scalloped guitar. Pundarna ute och rekar. Maybe yes. Yes, fueled by bass. You should definitely do these streams. They are heaps of fun, and you can connect with other people. And it's almost a sort of like stage practicing, because you get to play and that kind of thing. My neighbors do get to hear a great show. I'm happy they are kind-minded people. I'm lucky they are kind. He-Man, yes! I love my new Marshall. It's the one you're hearing. Just two pedals, like the Tube Scream and BOD, and it sounds like a, well, to me it sounds like a high-end amp, you know. It is a full tube amp, but it easily competes with my Boogie amp, which costs a whole lot more. Let's not count the Tube Scream. Yeah. The high gain is coming from the Friedman BOD. That's the important part. It's not coming from the amp. And I have to admit that ever since I got this amp, I'm starting to use the BOD so much more. It just didn't really serve a purpose on my Boogie amp. Good luck, fueled by bass. So, what techniques does Scalloped allow? It doesn't allow any new techniques, but it's the same effect as having a really tall fret wire. Many guitars come with like medium fret wire, and what that does is you get friction between the fingertip and the wood. So bending, it gets harder. Hammer-ons gets harder. You don't get the same, tone from each note if you accidentally hit the note a bit wrong, and the wood is stopping your finger from really truly fretting the string. So it helps with that kind of thing. Does your finger more hurt in a scallop fret? No. If your fingers hurt, the fingertips, that's pretty normal. You're gonna get these calluses that so you can basically keep on playing. It's one of the few pains that is actually acceptable to feel when playing guitar. If you feel pain anywhere else, then stop, but the fingertips are okay. Usually after 1 or 2 weeks, that should be okay. It's weird that he scalloped his guitar neck and ruined the intonation. It shouldn't affect the intonation because the frets are on the exact same places. So it really shouldn't affect the intonation unless he like screwed up a fret and it just went to hell, but that's rare. Phonics Man on Instagram, thank you, man. Legan, maybe a little bit sensitivity, maybe, yeah. It's mostly if you like fret the notes really hard, you can go out of pitch. For chords, especially like if you're struggling with chords, and I can get that sometimes if it's like a weird chord, but the chords you're comfortable with, hopefully you can fret them without any tension. So it shouldn't affect that, you know. But if you're, you know, working on some extreme chords and you have a scalloped guitar, maybe. But that's something you need to address anyway, you know. If you have that kind of finger tension, you should address it. So in that case, the scalloped guitar just helps pinpoint an issue you have with your playing, I guess you could say. Should really stop the stream, but I can't bring myself. Oh, you got your Gilmore Fender Custom Shop scalloped? Are you kidding? Yes, high action is never fun, but that has nothing to do with scalloping either. So you did scallop Gilmore Fender Custom Shop. Cool. Well, I wouldn't mind, but a lot of people, I guess, would argue it's the wrong guitar to do it on. Okay guys, I'm gonna have to stop this stream now. It was a lot of fun and I think we had a very cool discussions and you are to thank for that. So I thank you so much for all the great input and the fun discussions. The discussion goes on. I don't even want to end this. It's a shame you can't keep on chatting once I'm done. That's how it is. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and do check out my recent shorts if you want to learn, you know, the fun stuff here. Also, I put up a lot of theory stuff if you want to know the scale, stuff like that. Lots of free stuff on my Patreon, so you might want to check that out in the theory section if you want to learn the scales and the riffs and a lot of the chords I use for this kind of thing. So yes, have a good one and see you soon. You are the best. Cheers.